Many political parties were campaigning using this so-called strategy of we need to deport these illegal immigrants back to their countries. The head of state or the governments of those countries should have a concern that, hey, hang on, we've got our people in the country, all right? Through the embassy, let's understand that who are the people that are there legally, and then they need to make some means or plans to get those ones that are there illegally out. And then say, okay, if you want to go back to South Africa has laws, and those laws are for everyone. Are for everyone. Just like you, I don't think you can just go to Nigeria or even tomorrow America and say, let me go to Nigeria and I'll find my way to get in there. Even if you want to go there for good intention. I don't think that we are truly characterizing the issue of foreign nationals when we say it is xenophobia. To some extent, it presents itself as Afrophobia. And I'll explain why I say it presents itself. And it's so unfortunate that I don't think even the people that are involved are aware.
Everyone, welcome Lindani. How are you, man?
Hey, Mama, welcome. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very glad to have you here. To kickstart, I want us to talk about the youth of South Africa. I've noticed how a lot of things has changed over the past decade, and we have kind of become a generation that do not really care about information happening in our country or in the world. I just want us to discuss something, maybe your suggestions or your opinion of what can we do differently as the youth of South Africa, where we are right now in this economy and all the chaos that is happening right now.
I think maybe the starting point is the quality of information. Because we talk about the information gathered, but the quality of it, what information is there current. Maybe that's a starting point. Because if you go generation by generation, you see the quality and the amount of information and how would one go about to get that information. Right? So we live in an age whereby cell phones, computers, information is right in the palm of our hands.
Yeah.
But what type of information is that? As opposed to people that will spend time in libraries, and people that will gather and have serious conversations. I think we as a generation in our times, we get distracted easily. Because remember, information is not just something that it's only now. Getting information is a process. It's a process.
I think also social media comes with some of these disturbances in gathering
100%.
information, because there's a lot of podcasts here in South Africa right now, and I've noticed that in some of them we have got people who spread wrong information without being well informed or without doing a thorough research on a particular subject. And what is just my concern is the fact that I can see the world is changing, the world is evolving. And I recently made an episode about people who want to be entrepreneurs. What are some of the things that as an emerging entrepreneur you need to apply, and what are things that you need to do and what you shouldn't do? And it got me thinking to say, back in the days when they founded these big companies that we see today, your Discam, it's a South African brand, your Clicks, it's a South African brand. There's a lot of brands that are South African brands. I tried to think what was their thinking process, and when you try and compare that with us right now, do you think we are those people who carry the future of big brands that will emerge in South Africa?
But the most unfortunate thing is the public support. You mentioned when we talk about the brands that have been to South Africa for decades, it's because of the support, financial support, and also the customer base. Right? people that are willing to support.
Yeah.
So maybe let's take some of the brands that have been to South Africa for some time. I don't want to say unfortunately, but maybe it's unfortunately, is that most of those brands were in the time or established in the time of the previous government dispensation. Okay, yeah. And that government was willing and had a program to fund the starting of the businesses and also the sustainability of the businesses.
But it is of concern in a way to find that South Africa is a country that is rich in minerals. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
It's so rich in minerals, but we have got to import the finished product. I think that's one thing that we need to pay our attention to. And I think with gathering correct information and being informed with what is happening in the country is what can help us to have a mindset to say, maybe we can try and find a way. It may not be exactly something that is being imported at the moment, but something, because I believe for this country to be better, it doesn't have to be anybody from outside or anybody from the States or whatever. It has to be someone here. It has to be us who build this country. So I don't know, because I'm trying to get my mindset to consider, because I recently registered a business. It's Vision Nexus. It's a media company that it has two subcomponents: a media company as well as property investment. And I started that looking at the future and understanding that, okay, I had a dream of starting a company to sell something, to be in sales in a way. But right now it looks like everything is overpopulated. If I want to start a perfume business, it's overpopulated. Many brands, and many of those things we are actually importing those things, but we are selling them here. So I started that because I can see the world is shifting towards being consumed by social media. So what I want is to populate social media in a way that we will consume informed information, and we will get content that we can make use in our daily lives. But from you, I just want to hear your opinion. Do you think social media in the last decade, because it has become a thing right now, do you think it has had an effect in how us as youth behave at the moment?
Social media has played a big role, both positive and negative, and that's a real fact. Those people who have been able to get into social media and sell their product or advertise their product in a good way have succeeded. Yeah, I think we've had a lot of people that, from a social media point of view,
Definitely.
that social media has promoted.
Yeah.
Through the content that they're able to flood in there or to present in there. And also, I think the negative part of the social media is that it is able to propagate information or the content that is not true, and also that is not suitable for society. There are a lot of things that, as you mentioned, in the past decade, where we find that information that has been shared out there or that has been propagated, most people come to today and say, hey, I think we were misinformed today. But at that point in time, everyone was convinced that it is exactly what it is. If maybe I just want to spend a little bit on that one, I know maybe one of the discussion we can get to it later. If you look at the issue of xenophobia, for example, right? That thing when it started, I think it was 2009. It was just before the World Cup, 2009, where it started. And I remember that time because there was a fear of if the World Cup was still going to come to South Africa because of this anarchy that was going on at that time. And the propagation of the information at that point in time, was South Africa is killing, South Africans are killing, the non-South African people. foreigners
Yeah.
but the issues below that were not like presented, were not presented, and also the situation whereby what is the nature of this so-called xenophobia? The social media played a big role in terms of flooding the information that nowadays you can like say, okay, if you go back 10 years ago, somebody who's 26 years today, that person was 16 years old. So the information that was there at that point in time and trying to analyze it today, 10 years later, you say, hey, hang on, I don't think that was true. Because now you're finding a different version of the story, which is kind of like something that is repeating itself today. It's repeating itself today in the same context of xenophobia. And I don't think that we are truly characterizing the issue of foreign nationalities when we say when people say it's a xenophobia. To some extent, it presents itself as the Afrophobia, and I'll explain why I say it presents itself as Afrophobia. And it's so unfortunate that I don't think even the people that are involved are aware of that. The nature of this so-called movement now, it is about illegal foreign nationalities. Why, in my mind, it appears as much of an Afrophobia? It is because if you look at, let's take maybe 2 years back or 3 years back, before just the elections, many political parties were campaigning using this so-called strategy of we need to deport these illegal immigrants back to their countries. And they're going to close the borders. There was a famous theme or slogan, something of that nature. All right. So it was part of the campaign, right? Because it was known that at that point in time, in order for a political party to gain vote, they have to go with what the masses are saying. All right. And it worked. And then after the elections, that phased out, died out. Right. So it's again still the influence of the social media because it was the content that was thrown in at that point in time, and it yielded the positive result for those who were. But the point I want to get into when I say it's Afrophobic, it is because those chants of Mabaham and all those things were not visiting areas in the let's say in some apartments or in some formal settlement areas where you find many different nationalities, maybe let's say Europeans, Asians, and all that. It was more of let's close the borders for those coming in on foot, which is mostly obvious will be the people around South Africa, which is Swaziland, Mozambique, and all those things. So once you have a situation of that nature, then it's no longer xenophobic because it's not. I don't want to use the word hate, but maybe let's use it. It's no longer a hate of a foreign nationality. Now it becomes something that is zoomed into a foreign nationality from which land. You see, once you zoom in into that space, then it's no longer xenophobic. No. It becomes Afrophobic because, yes, we talk about now the foreign nationalities that are from the African continent. All right. So once you start to understand that, then you are able to come back and say, are we being fair or are we being true to what we're trying to achieve? When we say you want illegal immigrants out of South Africa so that we can clean South Africa. Because once we do that, we have to now narrow we have to widen the scope. We have to widen the scope and say, okay, the ships that are coming on harbor every day, all right, getting big containers, Who are the people that are in those ships? Because those ships they coming from Chinese, Malaysians, all those shores and coming and getting to South Africa with people in those containers. You see, the people that work in the Transnet Harbour will tell you that those containers come with people. All right. Are those people documented? No, they're not. You find that's exactly what we talked about the Chinese and others, but that are not South Africans. So that's why I say it's so unfortunate that subconsciously, I don't think that we are aware, or even the people that are in this movement and everything are aware of the fact that okay, we seems to be moving out of what the message is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the role of the media, by the way, media, social
Yeah.
media that is played. Coming back to your question, that shows social media.
But the issue of, like, saying it as xenophobia, but
Yeah.
right now you're opening my mind to something different, and I see the picture that you're trying to portray. And do you think this is going to affect our country, maybe in the long run? Let's look 10 to 20 years from now. The fact that we are doing the march and all that in the name of, wanting the illegal immigrants out of South Africa, and finding that the people who are actually experiencing that on a larger scale is people from neighboring countries. Do you think this is going to have a certain of a negative impact on our country in the long run?
The reality it shouldn't, but it might. It shouldn't. Why I said it shouldn't? It is because if someone is in the country illegally, illegally, it shouldn't be a discussion or debate whether what we are doing is right or wrong. But obviously, the manner of which how we do it, I think that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Because why I'm saying it shouldn't and then say it might have an impact, it is because as the head of states of these other countries that are affected by this, let's say Nigerians, Congolese, Angolans, and all this, the head of states or the governments of those countries should have a concern that, hey, hang on, we've got our people in that country, all right, through the embassy. Let's understand that what are the numbers look like in terms of what? Who are the people that are there legally? And then they need to make some means or plans to get those ones that are there illegally and out. And then say, okay, if you want to go back to South Africa has laws, and those laws are for everyone. Are for everyone. Just like you, I don't think you can just go to Nigeria or even tomorrow. Because say, let me go to Nigeria and I'll find my way to get in there. Even if you want to go there for good intention, whether studying or doing, I don't think you will just go there and rock up and say, "Now I'm from South Africa, I'm here." There are laws in there of getting into the country, and there are laws that governs everything or everyone that is within the country. You see, so that's why I'm saying, in my view, the heads of state or the governments of those countries should have already put some plans in place how to get their people and supporting South Africa. They should be supporting South Africa, because the reality, if you have people that, let's say from South Africa, they are USA, let's just forget that, they are USA, and illegal. As a South African community, we should be very, very worried if something of that nature is brewing in USA. That okay, any national any foreign nationalities in USA, maybe there's a deadline or so ever, we need to have it illegal. I think that's the most important. Illegal. There's a deadline of that nature that everyone, maybe by end of December 2026, everyone who's not in the country legally needs to go back to their country and apply to be in the country through the normal process. So the South African government or the community should then be worried and say, hang on, maybe government send a plane to USA or to whatever agencies to get those people coming back and understand how is there any important activities that they're doing in USA. So like same thing in Africa should be the same thing. And I think that's the frustrating part, and that is being experienced by the masses in South Africa. Because now you have South Africans that march against the South African government, but it shouldn't. Yeah, it shouldn't, because the heads of state, as I mentioned, from other countries should be worried and say, hang on, let's engage with South African officials, government, and let's have a proper program of how do we then take our people out of South Africa, the illegal ones. And the ones that are here illegally, of course, they might be here for some good reasons. We currently have students that are in universities coming from different countries. We currently have lecturers that are in universities coming from different countries. We currently have people in the private sectors that are here illegally doing good things. So it shouldn't be something that is taught. It's against legal people, national foreign nationalities in South Africa. I think the key is, are you in South Africa legally or illegally? That's the key. But as I mentioned before, that in that question, to get to the answer of that, it shouldn't be for only people in Africa, coming from Africa. It should be a question that is asking everyone that is in South Africa at the moment that is not from South Africa.
Okay, and with the government, I understand when you say maybe the government of the other countries that they have their people who are here illegally, and you mentioned making an example if it was set for South Africans who are in the US illegally, and issues like this rise, and they're given a deadline to say by this date you need to be out of the country, and then the country will have maybe say send a plane to go fetch those people. I'm just trying to think of that. Would that be literate, or will that be? I'm just trying to understand. Will it be literate of the government to get assistance for the people who went into another country illegally? Because first question is that, okay, as a country we've got laws, and in every border, I'm very sure, I've never crossed the border in my life, but I'm very sure when you get to the border, it's not just the officials of the other country. You see now. Okay, yeah. As I was saying, yeah, I'm very sure when you go to another country, it's not just the officials of the country that you're going to who are in charge of ensuring that you've got your documents, right? Even for you to get out of South Africa, there has to be some kind of there has to be some kind of a process that you go through, which is going through our government. But for the fact that these people managed to escape their country without following the process of their country, the process of leaving their own country, but they managed to pass through that and then also bypassed our own process of getting to our country, and they pass through that. Will it be literate for the government to say they are offering assistance to get those people? I'm not. I'm not trying to portray anything, but I just want to understand.
Okay. Let me assist that. The government of any country, but let's take South Africa in this case.
Yeah,
the government has the responsibility to look after its own people. Yeah, government of the country has the responsibility to look after its own people. Whether the people have done anything illegally to get out of the country, to get illegally in the other country, but once you have that call, it's like your bride at home. If your bride at home left in the middle of the night. That by the rules of the house is that
Yeah.
by 8 o'clock everyone is inside the house.
Mm.
But if your brother leaves at 10, he's out,
Yeah.
and he found drink and driving somewhere in the middle of the night, and he get taken by the authorities. Of course, as a family, it's our responsibility now to go and rescue that person. We don't just say, no, why did you leave in the middle of the night? No, 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 no.
Mm.
First, we attend to that situation, and then we come and prosecute each other here. Yeah, and say, okay, but you know that you were in a place where you're not supposed to be. How did you even get to that place? And you start to do that. So every government has that responsibility. A simple example: you'll recall the COVID situation in 2020. So when the COVID started to hit globally, and there were some restriction rules that were put in place, flying out, flying in, every country, everything was clamped down.
Yeah.
Each country had that responsibility, and many countries did execute it quite very well, to send the planes to go and get those people where they are.
Yeah.
I remember South African government, they did send the planes, South African Airways, I think to China or something, to
Yeah,
get those
there were
people.
people in China, yeah.
Exactly, to get those people. So that's the first mandate for government, is to look and protect its people, because the government exists because of the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just think about this: we are a family. You went to Angola illegally, all right? Of course, we as a family, we are part of the South African government. We pay tax to the South African government.
Yeah.
We do everything that we have to do for South African government.
Yeah.
So whatever situation that you find yourself in, that space, then it's government that needs to say, hang on, that's our people, and then let's bring them back here and have them prosecuted in South Africa. How did you get out of the country? What were you doing? Because remember, they are formal processes to prosecute any crime, and they are informal processes. And I think that's what we're trying to avoid, and that's what we have to avoid at all costs. The informal, where there's people revolt, anarchies, and all those things, because the death of a human being in those spaces, it's like a snap of a finger. So it's something that is very, very, very easy to take place. So the government has to then say, let's avoid that situation. Let's get our people out of that country. Let's deal with them internally, and let's put mechanisms in place. Because I think that's another thing that is failing us as Africans, are the mechanisms in place for one to move from one country to another.
Yeah.
All right. At this point in time, it appears to be very easy to get or to move from one country to another. Because if it wasn't easy, we wouldn't have so much influx in South Africa.
Okay. Yeah, I think you answered it perfectly well. Yeah, I understand. But now we are experiencing a huge impact in the way how things are happening when we come to operating your own vehicle that you bought. The petrol prices spike and the diesel. And this is all being affected because of the war that is occurring, if I may say. Um, I'm just trying to think, is this ever going to get to a point where, as South Africans and as a country that is so rich in minerals, I feel like we've got the material, we've got not we may not have everything that we need, but we have what it takes to build our country. I'm just thinking, is it ever going to get to a point where, even if there is some kind of a war that is happening, whether it's the US or whatever country, will it ever get to a point where we will not be affected the way how we are affected right now? Because I'm I'm thinking of these processes. We supply countries with minerals, they process, they do whatever, and then they import those things back to us. And now there is war that is happening. We are not even intervened there, but it's coming back and affecting us and the whole. other countries that are being affected. What is your thinking about that? Is it ever going to get to a point where, as South Africans, we are not going to be affected by some things that are happening, maybe wars that are happening in whatever part of the world?
As South Africa standing alone, it's not going to happen.
Mm,
Yeah. That's why the economists, when they look at in terms of Africa,
mm,
they start to zone it, you know. And when they zone it, they try start to make sense economically.
mm,
Let's make a simple example. Africa is separated into five
mm,
zones. We have a southern Africa, which we call SADC, and then you've got your north, which is Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, those who relate themselves as Europeans. And then you have your West Africa, and then you have your East Africa, then you have your Central Africa. So Africa is divided into five.
mm,
And I wouldn't say there is a reason why it's separated into five. But when they want to zone it for economic purposes, they zone it in exactly that way.
mm,
So that's why in our case, we are part of the SADC, the SADC committee and all that.
mm,
Why I'm saying for South Africa it's not going to be easy to stand alone. It is because if you look at South Africa currently, you talk about the minerals, but the minerals, as much as are coming from the South African soil, but are the owners of the minerals South Africans?
mm,
All right. If they are South Africans, are they obligated to support South Africans with the revenue of what is coming out of those mines? Those are the first thing that you need to understand.
mm,
Because it's easy to say, at home we have bread.
mm,
But is that bread? Yes, it's there on the table. But it's for your family, or maybe it's coming somewhere else, it's for
mm,
someone else outside. So that's one thing. And two, we don't have the minerals that are critical for. Okay, how can I put this one? Because I want it to make sense with that. Let's look at the countries that have oil as an example.
mm,
All right. Oil is a product that it derives many products out of it.
mm,
Oil.
mm,
Right? Petrol, diesel, and other things, paraffin, all of things, right?
yeah,
So it means without oil, the world will stand still.
mm,
Right. So if you have oil, then you're able to detect every other thing. The one challenge was based on that. Okay. Yeah. So based on that. But if you look at the minerals that we talk about in South Africa, as an example,
mm,
diamond, as an example,
mm,
is really life dependent on diamond.
mm,
Yeah, is really life dependent on gold. Yeah. So we have to look it into that for living, like for us to live on day to day basis. What are these products that comes out of those minerals? Are the minerals that drive day to day life, or are the minerals that add into economy that is already there? You know? Because as an example, I think we already mentioned about two, which is gold and diamond. We can go as far as others, the platinum and all those things that to see, okay, platinum, what other areas that use platinum, so we can start to look into that. But the big ones, when we talk about the diamonds and stuff, I don't think they try your day to day
mm,
operations.
mm.
It's unlike diesel. It's unlike
Oil,
oil.
yeah.
It's unlike oil. Maybe let's look at coal.
Mm,
Okay, coal, yes, in that space. Uh, I think we are the big exporters of coal. Unfortunately, we are the big exporter of coal to other countries, and especially the European countries. European countries. There was a time where we had load shedding. I think you might remember that time, or
Yeah.
maybe you're too young, but
No,
you might remember.
I
Yeah,
remember.
where we had a serious load shedding,
Yeah.
which was 2019 all the way to 2024.
Yeah.
We had very serious load shedding
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
And there was a big argument that, but we have hundreds and hundreds of trucks lining up into the hub of Richards Bay, carrying coal, and the A grade of coal, by the way, because even the coal is different in grades. The A grade of coal, and those coals were going out of the country to European countries, right? So from an energy source point of view, because coal is part of the energy source, so if that was our trade, and say we have coal, right, you can't do anything without coal, maybe we would have an upper hand in situations like that where we say we want to dictate how things go. But we don't have that leverage, unfortunately. Right? So most of our things that we rely on as a country, it's the products that we manufacture, if we manufacture anything, or that we make internally. You know, but even those products are not South African branded products. Are the product whereby the headquarters are somewhere else in the world. We are just manufacturing or putting products together. So I don't think we are in a position or will ever be in a position to say, no, we cannot be affected by anything that's happening globally. But if maybe we were in the regional, looking at the SADC, then we start to have Angola, which now we have Namibia with some oil ores in their backyards. And then you've got the Mozambicans, and you've got others and others, where you have things that we share now as a SADC. And it becomes a big basket that the other market part of the globe wants this product. But individually, as South Africa alone, no ways. No ways.
I understand.
Yeah,
I think this is some information that we, as young people, need to stay abreast with and try to understand, because it's easy to say, and this is just like, I'm guilty of this as well, because this is just opening my mind to say, you know what, you need to start reading more and understanding more what is actually happening to
Yeah,
get
the minerals, when you talk about diamonds, it's not something that yeah, the price of the diamond in terms of the ounce, whatever case may be, yes, it's a very good price. But in the case whereby we say now everything is on standstill, we need to survive.
Yeah.
We're not going to eat diamonds, man.
Yeah, true. True.
You're not going to move on diamonds. Yeah. So that's why those countries that have those natural resources that are essential, those countries are well developed or developing countries. Yeah, well developed. Take a look at, for example, let's say they call themselves UAE, but let's say Dubai as an example. Dubai is a desert. Is a desert, but it's a desert that has an oil underneath, and that's why it's able to strive with, because oil, well, if you've got oil, you've got everything that the world needs, and they were able to develop the country,
Yeah.
quickly, because they've got the price, they've got a product that everyone wants.
Yeah.
We had diamonds for over hundreds and hundreds of years. Yeah, the first mine, I think this was not the first mine in South Africa. I think it was in Kimberley. Yes, Kimberley, the oldest mine is in Kimberley, where they found the diamond. Actually, even the biggest diamond came from Kimberley. I'm not sure if you know or aware of that. The diamond that was in the queen of it used to be here on the crop. It came from Kimberley, biggest diamond. But what value does it have for us?
Yeah. I understand. But then now, on your opinion, What can further strengthen the economy of our country? Now we're looking at holistically everything when we are getting, the assistance
Mm.
from neighboring countries of even countries in the states and all that. What can be done to further strengthen our economy? Not to
Mm.
say by doing everything ourselves, but coordinating with other countries and all other government officials of other countries. What do you think can be done to further strengthen the state of our economy at the moment?
Yeah, I think the first thing we need to be careful when we say getting assistance from other countries, because assistance that coming from other countries, it does not come for free. It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. Some countries have found themselves in the debt that is 99 plus 1 year, where you have to pay back for 99 plus 1 year. You know. I think the sad part of just to make an example of what we talk about, Kenya had to give their airport, Kenya International Airport had to give it to China. It's because China gave them a loan and they failed to pay it back. And China said, okay, we're taking the airport. That's going to be Chinese, whatever airport. So I just want to start there that the assistance that comes from other countries, it's need to be followed. But in our country's situation, it goes down to how do we localize? How do we reduce the impact?
Yeah.
How do we start to make things by ourselves? How do you, I think that if you go back to that point of minerals, if we are digging up the gold, diamond, platinum, and all that, but we are not processing those things, we are sending somewhere else to be processed. Right. So that means we are losing that value chain in between because that value chain, that's where the economy is. All right. So if we were processing these products by ourselves, of course, that means it's good for economy. All right. But the solution to our situation at the moment, it will always goes down to how do we then localize things? How do we make things by ourselves? Because I think that's a lot of difficult that we need. Yeah, and that also it kind of like cut into many ways because once you start to localize things or to make things by ourselves, your your employment unemployment goes down, employment
Yeah.
rate goes up, and also your GDP it goes up because now you've got so many gross domestic product that you make. Right? So it goes up as well. To some extent, or to some degree, the crime rate should also go a bit down because now you've got many people that are able to feed themselves. You know, so it's one thing that touches many areas. Something that touches many areas. But the strategies that we need to, as a country, is how do we localize things? How do we go back to the trade deals that South African government made with other countries? Because unfortunately, I think that's where we are stuck. With the trade deals whereby we, as South African government, not necessarily we, where the South African government, they've made commitments or they've sold some of the product that we will buy or will get from your country, from other countries. Let's take a simple example. The millets matter. We shouldn't be getting any millets coming from any other country. We can grow that thing by ourselves, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can grow
And
that
we
thing
do
by
that
ourselves.
a lot in Limpopo.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
grow that thing by ourselves. But then the justification that the government always put in there is that we don't have enough farms to supply. So hence we're getting it from other countries. But that's not the truth. That's not the truth. If it's a truth, maybe it's a truth, but it's not the truth. So that's why. So the things that we can grow by ourselves, we should be. I don't think it makes sense to import a tomato.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Are we importing tomatoes?
Yeah, we have importing quite a lot of those things. Importing quite a lot of those things. That's why I was making this example of the things that we should be able to grow by ourselves. I don't think that it makes any sense that we are importing those ones. It does not make sense. The chickens, how do you import a chicken? Yeah, all those things, all those things. Lucky for us, I think we still have quite a big space on sugarcane, which we still do have. I think about 3 mills sugar mills. I think it's three, not four, that we have here in KZN that is responsible for now the processing of the sugar cane. Because I think there's about two up. Okay, there's one in Pangini. I think there's another one. Otongati. There's another one down south coast. So there are some sugar mills there, millings there that are able to process sugar, but sugar canes. But over and above that, we still get some imported sugar. So you see that over and above that, we still get some imported sugar. So it kind of put us in a not a very good situation, not a very good space, because we can't be in a position where we should be making our own product and we are buying some product elsewhere even the product that we are making, we still have some supplementary on top of that. We do have space, we do have land. Then why don't we just make our own things?
Yeah, true.
And sorry, just to add into that, and I think also our minds in terms of pulling our economy up, I don't think we are targeting the right spaces. Why I'm saying so is, if you look at the past 10 years, the amount of malls that have been built as compared to the industries that have been built in the past 10 years. Every corner now there's a mall. And then the mall is not producing any product. Yeah, a mall is for people to come and consume, because you're buying food there, you're buying clothes there, you're buying services there, but it's not producing anything.
You're buying imported stuff.
Yeah, you're buying the product. You're buying the product in the mall. And another thing, I think this point of economy, we're going to dwell a little bit much on that one. Another thing, if you look, because now we talk about the source of economy, right? We talk about, okay, a product that we make locally and the industries that are available locally. And instead of us as a country, instead of the country investing more and trying to come up with the ways of building industries, whether light or heavy, but building industries, we seem to be focusing more on building malls. I want to touch a lot on mall, because mall, as I mentioned, that it's only services that you get there, and finished product. So the question is now, if here in Devon, maybe let's be specific. Let's say Umlaas as an example. Umlaas as an example. It's one of the biggest townships in South Africa. Umlaas as an example. Right? We've already built about 5 malls in there. All right. But the people that lives there, Umlaas, that stays in there, they're not working in any industries. Or maybe some of them are in what used to be called Supref, maybe others in Toyota, some of them are SAP, the breweries. I'm talking about the industries where maybe some of those people, and plus municipality, like jobs and all those things. But are they in a position to sustain those meals? I'm talking about now the revenue that those guys, of course, have to go and buy food and all those things. Are they in a position to sustain those meals? Because I think that's where we kind of like getting it just a bit wrong. We've invested, obviously the malls are privately owned, but I don't think that even whether they are privately owned, the people that are thinking towards that direction are thinking that it's something to pull the country from where it is, economic point of view. You will get a lot of people that are employed there as a salesperson, obviously, cashiers, people, merchandise, and all those things. But if you think about it, they are there to sell a product. So they are at the end side of the product. If you look at the value chain from processing or converting raw material into something, they are not. We are not there. Yeah, we are not there.
Yeah.
We are right at the end of the product. So it's not going to help us to come out of the situation where we are if we continue at that rate. And there's quite a lot of malls that are currently popping up. Just as you mentioned, just to digress a bit, on the space that you said you are also looking into the property. Is it property space?
Yeah.
Yeah, the property, I think it's also a space there where I also have my own opinion on that one. I've seen when you drive from the airport going up to this area of Palito, there used to be sugarcane plantations there. There used to be sugarcane. And now they've taken them all out. So they're converting into apartments. Yeah, they're building apartments, as you speak. Building apartments, and it's a very growing development in terms of building the properties, apartments, and all that. But who's going to stay there? Who's going to buy it? You know, if you look at it nowadays in the property space, the buying versus renting, the renting is more compared to buying.
Yeah.
Why renting is more? It is because people, even themselves, they've got this in the back of their mind that, of course, maybe I'm not going to be staying here for long. Because if you don't have something that is sustainable around that space, so you know that you can leave anytime. You know, most people are working on contracts, as an example. So if you're investing in a property, maybe as a means of what of maybe you're trying to sell, you're selling the properties or developing the property and all those things. I think that's what makes the value of the properties nowadays very depreciate. Because there's quite a lot of properties that are available for selling. And the properties are available for selling, but people can't afford. So now we have got a market that is saturated, and people are forced. You're forced to cut the price that you had in mind for your property, because of course you want to sell it.
Yeah.
You want to get some money out of it, but you are forced to cut it a bit. So to come back to this, because I think we digressed a bit, to come back to this topic of economy, that is where I think we are not getting it right at this point in time. Let alone the unemployment rate going up, because I think that's another point that we need to touch on. Unemployment